There was a man named Jide who lived in the village of Nyaneba with his wife, Ajwa, and their three daughters, Ama, Afia, and little Efua. Jide was a kind-hearted man who believed in treating everyone with respect, but his wife, Ajwa, was not the same. Ajwa had a cruel streak, especially towards their maid, Abena. Abena was an orphan who has come to live with them when she was very young. She was kind and hardworking, but Adra treated her like she was less than a person. Every morning, before the sun rose, Abena would start her chores. She fetched water, cleaned the house, and cooked the meal. Adra made sure Abena had more work than she could handle, and often gave her little food when Jide wasn't around. Adra cruelty grew even worse. Sometimes, she would let Amma and Afia join in teaching them to be just as unkind as she was. They would laugh as they made a mess for Abena to clean up, or they would take her food and leave her hungry. But Jide and little Efua were different. Jide noticed how hard Abena worked and how little she was appreciated. He tried to talk to Adwa about it, but she would always brush him off, saying that Abena was just a maid and should be grateful for the roof over her head. Efua, who was only 10 years old, could see that Abena was kind and didn't deserve to be treated so badly. She would sneak into the kitchen to help Abena with her chores and share her own meal with her. Dear viewers, you must be wondering why Adwa treated Abena so badly and what happened. Well, keep listening to this story. Before continuing, this is a plea to you, my wonderful viewers, who hasn't subscribed to my channel, to please be a part of my growth. I am pleading with you to click on that subscribe button, please. And if you have subscribed before, thank you so much and continue watching. One day, when Jide had had enough, he called Amma and Afia to sit with him under the big tree in their yard. "My daughters," he said, his voice gentle but firm, "I've seen how you treat Abena, and it is wrong. She's a person just like you, and she deserves to be treated with respect and kindness. Do not follow your mother's footsteps in this. Learn to be kind." Amma and Afia exchanged glances and then looked away. They didn't want to hear what their father was saying. They liked the power they felt when they bossed Abena around, and so they ignored their father's advice and continued to mistreat Abena. Years passed, and Abena grew into a beautiful young woman. Despite the hardship she faced, she remained kind and hardworking. One day, a wealthy man named Kwewe, known in nearby village for his wealth and wisdom, came to Nyaniba, disguised as a poor man. He had heard of Jide's daughter and wanted to see if one of them would make a good wife. He knocks on the door of Jide's house, dressed in simple clothes, and asks to speak with the family. Adwa answered the door, and when she saw the man's shabby appearance, she frowned. "What do you want?" she asked sharply. Kwewe smiles humbly. "I have heard of your beautiful daughters and wish to ask for the hand of one in marriage." Adwa laughed mockingly. "You, a poor man, wish to marry one of my daughters? You must be out of your mind. My daughter deserves someone rich and important, not a beggar like you." Kweme remained calm and respectful. "I may not have much, but I can offer love and care." Adwa's eyes narrowed as she thought of a way to get rid of him. "If you want a wife, marry our maid, Abena," she said with a sneer. "She is the only one fit for someone like you." Kweme turned to look at Abena, who was quietly standing in the corner. He could see the kindness and beauty in her eyes, and he knew she was special. "I would be honored to marry Abena," he said, surprising everyone in the room. Adjoa and her daughters were shocked. They never imagined that anyone, especially a man, asking for marriage would choose Abena over Ama or Afia. But Kweme kept his word. He took Abena with him, and they left the village together. Not long after, Kweme returned to Janiba, but this time he was dressed in fine clothes, and he came with a large entourage. When Adjoa saw him, she couldn't believe her eyes. The poor man she had rejected was actually one of the wealthiest men in the land. "Abena is now my wife, and she will live in a grand house with servants of her own," Kweme announced. Adjoa's face turned pale with regret, and Ama and Afia were filled with anger and jealousy. They had missed the chance to marry a rich and noble man because of their arrogance. But things didn't end there. But soon after, Abena and Kweme were married. Adjoa and her daughters faced a terrible problem. The crops in their field began to wither and die, and no matter what they did, they couldn't save them. The villagers said it was a curse, and the only person who could help them was Abena. But when they went to ask for her help, Abena remembered how they had treated her and refused to forgive them. Meanwhile, Efua, who had always been kind to Abena, was also growing into a lovely young woman. Her kindness and greatness had not gone unnoticed, and soon a noble and wealthy man from a neighboring village came to ask for her hand in marriage. Efua accepted, and they moved to the city, where they lived happily, surrounded by love and respect. Ama and Afia, however, were not so fortunate. Their arrogance and cruelty were known throughout the village, and no one wanted to marry them. They lived with their mother, who had become bitter and resentful, regretting the way she had treated Abena and the chances she had lost for her daughters. Ama and Afia cried for forgiveness, but no one listened. They were left to live in the shadow of their past mistakes, watching as others around them found happiness and love. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Like and share, so when I post more interesting stories, you will be the first to get them. I really appreciate you. I do not take your support for granted. Life in Yaniba carried on, but the air around Adjoa, Ama, and Afia grew heavy with regret and bitterness. The once lively home had become a place of sorrow and silence. No more did they mock and laugh at Abena, and no more did the house echo with the cruel words they used to wail at her. Now they live with the consequences of their action each day, a reminder of what they have lost. Efua, now living in the city with her noble and loving husband, often thought of her family back in the village. She wrote letters to her father, Jide, who was growing older and frailer. In her heart, Efua held onto the hope that her mother and sisters would one day change their ways, but she only knew that it was a lesson they had to learn on their own. Back in Yaniba, the crops continued to wither. The once fertile land which had provided for the family for generations was now barren. The villagers began to whisper, saying that the family was cursed because of the way they have treated Abena. People started avoiding Adjoa and her daughters, fearing that the curse might spread to them as well. Dear viewers, you must be wondering Adjoa and her daughters were able to survive isolation from the villagers and the hunger. Well, keep listening to this story. Before continue, this is a plea to you, my wonderful viewers who haven't subscribed to my channel, to please be a part of my growth. I am pleading with you to click on that subscribe button. Please, and if you have subscribed before, thank you so much and continue watching. Please click the like button. One day, Jide, who had been feeling weak by the day, fell seriously ill. Despite all effort to care for him, his condition only worsened. The village healer could do nothing to help, and the villagers said that only Abena, with her new status and influence, might be able to bring a cure. Adra, who had always been proud and stubborn, found herself in a position she had never imagined. Desperation pushed her to swallow her pride. She decided to visit Abena and beg for her help. She gathered Amma and Afia, and together they made the long journey to the grand home where Abena now lived. When they arrived, they were awestruck by the beauty and grandeur of Abena's new house. The house was large and surrounded by lush gardens, with servants who attended to every need. But Adjoa, Amma, and Afia felt out of place, like shadows from a past they wished they could erase. Abena was surprised to see them at her door, but she welcomed them in with grace. Though her eyes held a guided look, she listened quietly as Adjoa, with tears in her eyes, explained Jide's condition and begged for Abena's forgiveness and help. Amma and Afia, who had never known their mother to beg for anything, stood silently, their heads bowed in shame. Abena was silent for a long time. After they finished speaking, she thought of all the years she had suffered in their household, of the cruel words, the heavy choice, the hunger, and the loneliness. But she also remembered the kindness of Jide, who had tried to protect her, and the love of little Efwa, who had been like a sister to her. Finally, Abena spoke. "I will help Jide, but not because of you," she said. Her voice failed. "I will help him because he was kind to me when no one else was. And I will do it for Efwa, who showed me what true love is." With that, Abena summoned the best healers in the land, sparing no expenses to ensure that Jide would recover. Under their care, Jide's health slowly improved. The news of his recovery spread through the village, and everyone praised Abena for her mercy and kindness. But Abena's help did not mean that all was forgiven. She made it clear to Adra, Amma, and Afia that while she had saved Jide's life, she could not forget the pain they had caused her. She told them that if they truly wished to make amends, they would need to change their ways and earn forgiveness, not just from her, but from the people of the village as well. Adra, now humbled by the events, returned to Yaniba with her daughters. They began to live differently, no longer holding themselves above others. Adra walked in the field alongside the villagers, and Amma and Afia learned to cook and clean, tasks they had once considered beneath them. Slowly, they began to regain the trust of the village, but it was a long and difficult journey. Meanwhile, Efwa continued to live happily in the city, though she visits her father often, bringing him gifts and stories from her new lives. She was overjoyed to see her father healthy again, and though she was glad that her mother and sister were changing, she knew it would take time before things could be truly right between them all. As the seasons passed, the land around Yaniba began to heal. The crops grew stronger once more, and the village flourished. As time went on, Abena and Kwewe lives together grew richer and more fulfilling. Abena had found happiness beyond anything she had ever imagined, surrendered by love, respect, and the comfort of words. But despite her new life, she could not fully shake off the shadows of her past. The memories of her suffering and in Adjua's household remained a reminder of the fragility of her happiness. In Yaniba, Adjua, Ama, and Afia continued to work hard to regain the trust of the villagers. They had changed, becoming more humble and considerate, but they were still haunted by the mistake of their past. Ama and Afia, once proud and arrogant, were now quiet and reserved. Their beauty overshadowed by the scare of their previous behavior. No one in the village seemed interested in marrying them, and they began to fear that they would remain alone forever. One day, as Abena was visiting the market in Yaniba, she overheard some women gossiping. They were talking about how no one would marry Ama and Afia because of their arrogance and the way they had treated Abena. Please like and subscribe. Thank you. Abena felt a pang of sadness for her former tormentors. Despite everything, she did not wish them a life of loneliness and despair. That evening, Abena spoke with Kweme about what she had heard. They have changed, she said softly. They are no longer the same people who has hurt me so deeply, but their past still hang over them, and I can see that they are suffering. Kwewe listened carefully, knowing how much Abena past had shaped her. What do you wish to do? He asked gently. I want to help them, Abena replied. Not because I owe them anything, but because it is the right thing to do. They have learned their lesson, and it's time to let go of the past and move forward. Kweme nodded, understanding her decision together. They began to think of ways to help Ama and Afia find happiness and redemption. A few weeks later, Abena organized a grand celebration at her home, inviting everyone from the village, including Adjua, Ama, and Afia. It was a beautiful event, filled with music, dancing, and laughter. During the celebration, Abena stood up and addressed the crowd. Many of you know my story, she began, her voice steady and clear. I was once a maid in this village, treated poorly and made to feel less than human. But life has a way of changing things. I have been blessed with a loving husband and a good life, and I am grateful for that every day. The crowd listened intently, curious to see where Abena's speech was leading. But I have also learned that holding on to the past can keep us from moving forward. Abena continued. Adjua, Ama, and Afia have worked hard to change, and they have suffered enough for their mistake. It is time to forgive and to help them find happiness. There was a moment of surprise and approval from the crowd. Abena's words were powerful, and they resonated with everyone who heard them. After the celebration, Abena began quietly speaking to the eligible young men in the village and nearby towns, telling them about Ama and Afia, not as the arrogant girls they were once were, but as the kind and hard-working women they had become. Slowly, the word spread, and soon enough, young men began to take an interest in them. Ama and Afia were astonished when suitors started visiting their home. At first, they were unsure how to respond, but with Abena's guidance, they began to open their heart to the possibility of love. Before long, both Ama and Afia were engaged to be married to good, kind men who had seen the change in them, and we are willing to give them a chance. On the day of the double wedding, the entire village gathered to celebrate. It was a joyous occasion filled with dancing, music, and feasting. Amma and Afia, dressed in beautiful traditional gown, looked radiant and at peace. Abena watched from the sideline, her heart full of happiness and contentment. As the festival went on, Adjoa approached Abena. There were tears in her eyes as she spoke. "Thank you. Abena, I don't know if I can ever fully atone for the way I treated you, but you have shown more kindness than I could have ever deserved. You have saved my daughters, and for that, I will always be grateful." Abena looked at Adjoa, seeing the sincerity in her eyes. "The past is behind us now," she said softly. "We can only move forward from here. Let us build a future where kindness and respect guide our action." Adjoa nodded, and for the first time in years, there was a true sense of peace between them. The heavy burden of the past has finally been lifted, and the future was bright with possibility. As the sun began to set over the village of Nyaniba, the people continued to celebrate the new beginning that had emerged from the ashes of the past. Abena and Kweme returned to their home, where they lived a life filled with love and harmony. Efwa too continued to thrive in the city, visiting often and bringing joy to her father and family. Amma and Afia, now married and start families of their own, found happiness in their new life. The lesson they had learned stayed with them, and they raised their children with the value of kindness, humility, and respect. Jide lived out his remaining years surrendered by the love and care of his family, grateful for the peace that has finally settled over them all. The end. Thank you so much for watching. This is Great African Folktale Channel. Please, if you haven't subscribed, please click on that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. Like and share so when I post more interesting stories, you will be the first to get them. I really appreciate you. I do not take your support for granted. See you in my next video. Bye.